Every year, NASCAR races over 30 times. Some races will have an epic moment that will be playing in highlight reels for years to come, whether it's great racing, a terrible crash, or some good old-fashioned drama. Some races will become classics that are appointment viewing. And some can even change the sport completely. Some races are so controversial they'll spark debate for decades. And some races will be so bad you can't wipe them from your mind, no matter how hard you try. However, these aren't most races. The majority of races are forgotten, not good enough to be great, but not bad enough to be terrible. Left to rot away as a page on Racing Reference, only being brought up as an obscure stat, or their final lap being shown in a driver win compilation. Not every race can be a classic. Not every race can deliver an all-time moment. However, there was one race in this category that should have been too chaotic, too insane, too stupid to be forgotten. Yet, it was, and I seem to be the only person who remembers this absolute cursed gem of a race. Until now. Time to let you in on the secret. Now, where do you think this race takes place? Maybe Talladega, the superspeedway home to some of the wildest racing we've ever seen. And of course, the namesake, the hit movie Talladega Nights. But no, it's not Talladega. Maybe it's Bristol, the last great Coliseum. Hosts over 150,000 fans, a short track known for flaring tempers. But no, it's not Bristol either. Maybe it's Daytona, the world center of stock car racing. There has to have been a gem in there somewhere that we missed. But it's none of the usual suspects. Pocono, the tricky triangle, would be one of the last guesses for NASCAR fans. It's often derided for having downright boring racing, and many fans view Pocono weekend as skippable. But not on this day in May 2004.
Fox Sports welcomes you to Nextel Cup Racing, presented by Subway in Pocono.
When we tune in, there's no pre-race ceremony. Cars are already on track. Despite the initial sunny forecast, the green flag has been moved up due to rain in the area. The clouds provide a darker, drearier look on TV, highlighted further by the grainy standard definition of the time. Dale Jr. leads the points heading in, as he's had a great 2004 so far. But he's not on pole. The driver on pole is Kasey Kahne, who is the first rookie to do so since 1979 at Pocono. Brian Vickers, another rookie, is on the outside pole. However, neither will lead the first lap, as vet Joe Nemechek passes them both. This is all the racing we get before a caution on lap 1. Morgan Shepherd's car is smoking down the backstretch, which might not have been a caution before the events of last week. Let me explain. Last weekend at Dover, Kasey Kahne was 20 laps from his first career win. On the other end of the track was Casey Mears' car, beat up and laps down from an earlier incident. His car began smoking. NASCAR just assumed this is due to a fender rubbing and let everything go. But that was not the reason.
From Tony Stewart, who's Kasey Kahne lost it. Oh, there's oil. There's oil on the racetrack.
Use my time. You got it.
Oil on the racetrack. Mark, Tony Stewart gets by. I think Matt Kenseth may have went up and brushed the wall.
Now, NASCAR has announced that they will be much more vigilant in throwing the caution for smoke to avoid something like this happening again, which is why we see the caution so quickly for Morgan Shepherd's car. This is not the only change NASCAR made. They also made some changes involving scoring in order to make cautions quicker, which was also due to some problems faced at the previous week's Dover race. That race in its own right was insane, but that's not the race we're here to talk about today. These changes will be on full display today. We eventually get back going to green, and it begins to look like a normal Pocono race. Jimmy Johnson catches and passes Joe Nemechek for the lead on lap 11. His teammate Jeff Gordon is not far behind. After the lead sorts out, the broadcast focuses on a group of fans cheering on the number 72 of Kirk Shelmerdine. Kirk Shelmerdine is not a threat to win. Kirk Shelmerdine is not even a threat to finish in the top 10 or even the top 20. Shelmerdine runs 40th, running for his own team that can't compete with the rich teams like Hendrick or Roush. Despite Shelmerdine having no chance of winning or even getting a good finish, he still has his own group of supporters, waving little banners and posters as he goes by. As the race progresses, another story arises. There's a new engine most Ford teams are running. The only big Ford drivers not running are Mark Martin and Kurt Busch. Pocono is one of the most demanding tracks on the NASCAR circuit with large amounts of shifting, so this should be a good test of the durability of this new engine. The first part of this race has been very tame. There's been some good racing, Elliott Sadler covering up a few guys in the back of the pack, but overall very tame, which is Pocono. Pocono is not a very entertaining track usually. You can go very long without any cautions, without any major incidents, and guys get stretched out. Lap 34, green flag pit stops begin, and we make it through them without much incident. However, Kirk Shelmerdine does run out of gas, but he does get to pit road. There's been a lot of single file racing, a few battles here and there. It's a Pocono race. The field is stretched out. Jimmy Johnson has an 8-second lead on 2nd and a 26-second lead on 10th. Pause the video, count to 26 seconds. Don't actually. But this can't all last very long.
They're not happy with his race car.
Trouble over in the tunnel turn. Turn 2, exit of turn 2. Ward Burton goes for a big ride.
Johnson's huge lead is cut short when Ward Burton spins out in front of Dale Jr. Dale may have taken the air off of Ward, adding another chapter to their rivalry.
Say the line, Bart!
I wish I had something I could shot through the window.
It's just an accident probably though. This caution not only bunches up the field, but also allows for a run through of the new rules. Pit road is open on the second pass by of the pace car. This shouldn't be important. I shouldn't have to be telling you about this, but it's gonna be important. Maybe not this time, but let me tell you, it's gonna be important. This time it goes smoothly though, with Sterling Marlin taking 2 tires to take the lead. Marlin's gamble has put him in a position that he hasn't spent much time in recently. Sterling Marlin had been a championship contender in 2001 and 2002. 2002 had been the best season of his career, with Marlin spending a large chunk of the season leading the standings. He seemed like the favorite to win the championship that year. Unfortunately, he was not able to capture the championship or even fight for it, as a crash at Kansas resulted in him breaking vertebrae in his back, ending his greatest season early. Marlin's 2003 was a huge disappointment, as he wasn't a factor, and his 2004 has been largely the same. At age 46, he may not have much time left behind the wheel, so he's going to have to make the most of these once bountiful opportunities that are becoming more and more fleeting. Marlin's lead lasts about until turn 1, as Johnson gets back on top with a nice move. This green flag run is not like the last one, as it's cut short when former college teammate of Allen Iverson, 2004 Rookie of the Year candidate Brennan Gaughan, blows an engine.
Third caution of the day, and it comes on lap 60 for the Kodak Dodge.
After some pit stops and the WebMD safety report, we're back to green. The threat of rain has lessened, so there's a good chance to get to the finish of this one. Darrell Waltrip credits the vortex theory. Yeah, Darrell, I think that's why. I believe.
For the lead, Jeff Gordon under Jimmy Johnson, gives Gordon plenty of room. Lead change.
Well, if that was your boss.
Rookie Scott Wimmer is running 9th with help from Mark Martin's tutelage. Martin showed him how to drive this track earlier on in the season. Wimmer hasn't had much success since his 3rd place finish in the Daytona 500 earlier this season. He had an outstanding season in the 2nd-tier Busch Series in 2002, winning 4 of the final 8 races and grabbing 3rd in the points. While he didn't make the jump to Cup the next year, it definitely allowed him to get that opportunity. His 2003 in the Busch Series wasn't as strong, but he still earned his promotion to the Cup Series. However, 2004 isn't the first time Scott Wimmer's raced in the Cup Series. His first Cup start was actually all the way back in 2000, using a car that was meant to be driven in the 4th-tier ARCA Series. They missed that race due to rain, so they tried to qualify for the Cup Series instead, and they made it. And he wasn't some backmarker. Wimmer led 9 laps and finished 22nd. Wimmer definitely has talent, and the way he's running this race could be a turnaround for him. Just ignore Terry Labonte taking him 3 wide and getting by him. Just ignore that. There's a beach ball. We're on another green flag run that's gone pretty long, so it's time for pit stops. Jeff Gordon is one of the first to make a green flag pit stop. Unfortunately, his team misses a lug nut and he has to stop again, putting Gordon very far back. This race has already had 13 different leaders, very much helped by green flag pit stops and different strategies, but we're 3 shy of the record, and we're not even halfway. The lead has cycled back to Jimmy Johnson, who has dominated most of this race. His main competition, Jeff Gordon, is now back in the pack, so he's got a pretty good shot at this. The first half of this race has been pretty tame, outside of the large amount of leaders. I'm not going to be able to say the same about the second half. Commentator Mike Joy mentions that we've only had 14 laps total of caution.
22 lead changes, 15 different leaders, only 3 caution flags thus far, and they've been fairly brief. Only 14 laps total of caution today.
Then Mark Martin blows an engine right after the break. Thanks, Mike. Mark was one of the 2 drivers who remember running the old Ford engine due to durability concerns.
Engine in his car because he wanted it for more dependability. He felt more comfortable with that engine.
Before we watch this restart, let's admire this graphic Fox Sports is giving us, showing which drivers are on the playoff bubble. We don't get this kind of art on TV anymore. More seriously, Jeremy Mayfield made contact with Greg Biffle's tire carrier during pit stops, which could have been much worse. But thankfully, everyone seems to be okay. The green is back out for a few laps.
Daryl, I think 2 things. I think they've made their car better. I think he spent the first 100 laps trying to figure out how to race people here.
Smoke. I think we see smoke out of the 18.
Scott Wimmer got in it in a 22 car.
Must be some oil over there.
Caution is out. Sterling Marlin's in it, the 40 car.
Oh, that's a shame.
Bobby Labonte, one of the fastest cars on the track, tears an oil line, which dumps oil onto the track. This takes out Scott Wimmer and Sterling Marlin, both having promising runs. Marlin is never able to recapture his 2002 form. He will never again have a top 20 finish in points before his 2009 retirement, let alone a top 10 finish. Wimmer is never able to realize his potential, with his sophomore season being his last full season. This is in part due to his team Bill Davis Racing losing Dodge factory support. Davis had helped Toyota break into the Truck Series, which led to Dodge filing a lawsuit against him. Davis would eventually lose the lawsuit and was forced to pay $6.5 million. His team struggled and eventually fizzled out by 2009. Once we go green, Johnson begins to pull away once again, making it clear that he is the dominant car today. However, he, along with a lot of other leaders, will have to pit.
An 8-second lead. What's your window for having to come in next?
Well, right now we're looking at probably the furthest we can go is about 157. Hopefully we'll get a caution around 153 or so, and we'll be all right.
As pit stops near, Jeff Gordon has worked his way back up the order from his earlier issues. Gordon can go at least 10 laps more than the leaders on fuel. Ricky Craven then blows his engine, which should be great for Johnson.
Matt?
And the 48 guys in their pit waiting for Jimmy Johnson.
Matt, Jimmy Johnson stayed on the racetrack for some reason.
Well, you know, the pace car did not pick him up. He was already past the point for the pace car to pick him up when the caution came out. I just wonder if he thinks he should have waited to catch up with the pace car before he came on pit road.
No one seems to know what's going on. Everyone is pitted except the leader and 2 other top 10 cars in Terry Labonte and Jamie McMurray. Now NASCAR's closing pit road.
Now we see the red flag with the yellow X out. Pit road is now closed. Access lane, and that's why the pit road is closed right now.
The bad news for this, Jimmy Johnson, they're going to be getting close to running out of fuel. See, he just told Terry Labonte, his teammate, who we know is a car that came in and topped off, if we run out, just like we saw Ryan Newman get help last week, give me a push if I run out of fuel.
Johnson's team is confused and talking to officials trying to see when they can pit and what can happen.
What happened was there was some confusion over the new rule. I believe he was waiting for the pace car to pick up the leader, which was Jimmy Johnson.
The pit road has been open, but in order to repair this, it is only open for the cars on the lead lap that did not pit the first time around. Jimmy Johnson, Terry Labonte, Matt Kenseth, and Jamie McMurray. They will be allowed to pit now so that NASCAR can get things sort of back out.
Yeah, here's what happened. The pace car didn't pick Jimmy up.
Pit road is open, Jimmy, 10-4.
So he thinks he's got to come around and come up behind the pace car to make everything legal. The guys behind him all dove on pit road. So when he gets stuck with the pace car, they come around next time for him to pit road's closed.
NASCAR finally allows them to pit, but now Matt Kenseth is the leader. What is happening?
Because the pace car did not pick up Jimmy Johnson. He was already gone by the time the pace car came onto the track.
But he slowed down over in turn 2 over there, or turn 1 over there. He slows. He sees the pace car sitting there. Normally the pace car will chase you down. You slow down up there going into turn 1, and the pace car will come on after. You see he come out. There goes the leader. He should have gone on and chased him down, because Jimmy about stops up here in the middle of turn 1 waiting for him. When he doesn't do that, Jimmy thinks, all right, I got to go around and get behind the pace car.
And that's what led to the confusion as to when the pits would be open, and then later the pits closed.
I've never seen this before. The pace car's job is to pick up the leader, pace the field in front of the leader, but the pace car doesn't pick up Jimmy Johnson, the leader of the race, the leader of almost the whole race. It's not very confusing. He's been in front almost the whole time.
What happened when the caution came out? The flagman who opens pit road, he thought that the car coming past Jimmy Johnson was coming past after the caution had come out. So next time around, he opened pit road. That was a mistake. Pit road should not have been opened until Jimmy Johnson came around another time.
Remember NASCAR's new rules, the ones I talked about earlier? The ones put in place starting this race? They've gone haywire. Everything that could have gone wrong has. 8 laps on a 2.5-mile track are spent under caution trying to figure out what is going on. Some drivers keep coming in to top off on fuel to make sure they can go to the end as scoring is being worked on. It is important to remember that these rules should, under normal circumstances, work perfectly well. It's just that none of the circumstances here were normal. Everything just snowballed, everything compiled on top of each other. What should have been great for Johnson strategy-wise has turned into a nightmare. Now Jeff Gordon, who had been back in the pack due to his team's earlier woes, is now back in front, while Johnson is back in 6th. John Hendrick, president of Hendrick Motorsports, is not thrilled with the situation, even though one of his cars is in the lead.
President of Hendrick Motorsports, what did they tell you, John?
What happened down here is that the official told us that the entrance was closed. Chance stayed out. They came, so we waited for them to clear all this out. They didn't do it, and they said they'd meet with us after the race, which we know they won't change anything then. The other cars got to come back in, and they topped off again. We don't have enough fuel to get out. We stayed out because we thought they'd fix the scoring thing. They didn't. So we're not happy with this. The NASCAR official told us the pits were closed. Guy started green flag, changed it to the red. A lot of confusion again, and we feel like there wasn't a fair deal here for us.
Many drivers, like Johnson, are unsure if they can still make it on fuel.
Ryan Newman topped off for gas on lap 160. Crew chief Matt Orland told him we're 5 laps shy. See if you can conserve some gas for us. Ryan Newman just radioed back and said, we're going to need a caution. I can't save you any gas right now.
Don't worry, Matt. You'll get it.
Jared, he does have enough fuel. He could make it all the way. Casey Kane, the 9 car, cannot. He's going to have to repit.
The tangled wet we weave.
Fuel is king at Pocono.
Not track position, new fuel. Oh my!
Yikes! I forgot we're in noted southern stronghold, Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
Michael Waltrip hard in the wall.
Boy, left side.
He was running in the 14th position.
Man, he and Rusty Wallace.
Seventh yellow of the day, lap 166. A hard crash for Michael Waltrip. Look at all the left side damage.
Left rear damage, real hard rear damage.
And
I don't
Rusty
know if we'll
Wallace
get back to the garage or not.
Come on, Mike.
Even harder. The window net is down on Michael's car, and Rusty's going to try to drive away.
I hate those left side crashes, man, and that particularly in that area there. The tunnel turn is one of the. I always thought that was the most dangerous turn in racing, to tell you the truth.
Top of your screen.
Anyways, that is a terribly hard crash as both drivers went hard into the wall in a very high-speed turn. Turn 2 is yet to be covered in safer barriers. Most of the track does not have safer barriers at this time. They have just started to be installed. Waltrip goes in driver's side as well, which we can see how much that car was destroyed and how much of an impact Waltrip took. Looking at this replay, it looks like Rusty Wallace is at fault, like he made a mistake. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Rusty lost his brakes and was along for the ride himself. There's nothing he could have done. I know that. You know that. There's one person who doesn't know that, and that's Michael Waltrip. Michael walks away, fixing his hair, which he's been very focused on since that wreck. Michael is pissed.
Waltrip had 4 top 10s in a row, including the Nextel Challenge, but now a huge crash. Michael, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just amazed that somebody could do something that's stupid. I mean, if I put other people in jeopardy and run over somebody like that, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I just can't imagine what could have led to a mistake like that that would have put me in such a compromising position. Wow. It just freaks me out that could have even happened. I wouldn't have dared to spin out Bill Elliott at Vegas like he did me, and I don't know what Rusty was thinking. I mean, I don't even know I can't even fathom it.
We're glad you're okay. Thanks.
I'm not too happy about anything.
All right, thanks, Dick Bergman.
I'm not too happy about anything.
All right, thanks.
There's still a race to be run. Jeff Gordon and others had to pit, leaving the top 2 as Jeremy Mayfield and Jimmy Johnson. Maybe Mayfield can challenge Johnson here.
Mayfield in the 19 was last on pit road, lap 155. That would be 45 laps to go.
That's a lot of laps on one tank full.
But I think what Jimmy Johnson wants to do, he wants to...
And Johnson fakes him out to high heaven, still on the front straightaway. Look at that. Wow. And now Bobby Labonte is somehow in 3rd, despite the oil line issues earlier. His team did a great job getting that car fixed, and he's in contention. We almost go right back to caution as PJ Jones just about loses it. Instead, we have to wait one more whole lap for a caution as Tony Stewart spins to bring it out. Darn. This really helps Johnson, Mayfield, and Labonte, who are all still close on fuel. The rules this time work, and the caution's very brief, and we're back to green. Mayfield this time is actually able to stay close to Johnson, and former champion Dale Jarrett, who hasn't won or even finished top 5 in over a year, is up to 4th. Ryan Newman, who was short on fuel a second ago, and a former winner here, is running in the top 10. Oh no.
He hit Newman. Yellow.
Round goes coming under you. But I think what we'll see...
3 more coming.
Robbie Gordon, who has known to have been a bit reckless throughout his whole career, and this isn't the worst case of it, but he does get in too deep trying to pass Ryan, and washes up and takes him out. And how does Ryan feel about this?
Ryan, you guys really battled to stay at the front all day. What happened there at the end?
Just got in reckless Robbie's way. The Altel Dodge wasn't that good in traffic, but it was good up front, and just lost the track position there, and Kurt Busch was blocking me, and a bunch of other stuff was going on, but guess we'll just go on to Michigan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Newman came into Pocono running 10th in points, the last guaranteed playoff position. With this crash, he's at risk of falling out. Chad Canales and the 48 team that feel their greatest threat is the resurgent Dale Jarrett at this point of the race, now that they're good on fuel.
The car really that looks like he's coming up there strong would be the 88 right now, and he's 4th.
But Johnson will be hard to beat, and it's been that way the last few races. And he just pulls away on the green flag.
He gets a good restart. See ya.
Now, should this have been a caution?
Unheard. Oh, bad boy, somebody's got to give. Oh, man. P.J. Jones in that 50 car. I think he's going to pay the price for that. That was caution is out, too.
No. But let's remember why it is. NASCAR was so worried about what happened with Mears last week, and even Labonte earlier today. They were not taking any chances this time. There's probably no other point in NASCAR history where that's a caution. During the caution, the announcers bring up the new Ford engine and how well they're all running. Drivers like Jarrett having great runs. This isn't foreshadowing at all. Don't worry.
Get that thing cleaned out. It's all you, babe. All you.
Nice.
Amy McMurray up alongside
We get back going with only 9 laps to go. And this time, for the first time all day, Johnson can't get away.
Mayfield's there.
Tell you who else is there, that green car, Bobby Labonte. He's right behind Jeremy Mayfield in the 18.
I want to throw up, but we're cutting him loose as he pulls up along the 48.
Steve DW, Mike, I'm watching Jeremy Mayfield get everything he can get out of that car right now. The last time in turn 1, he drove it so deep.
Mayfield has Johnson in his sights and is trying to snap a long winless streak at a track he's won at multiple times before. Mayfield and Labonte both run their fastest laps of the race with 6 to go. and then everything happens.
I'll tell you, I like the way Jeremy is hanging on.
Jeremy could reach out and touch Jimmy Johnson's car. He's that close.
Talking about close.
Oh.
Hello. That may not work.
Kenseth got in the back of Harvick.
Battle for 12th.
Uh-oh, Dale Jarrett down on pit road, out of harm's way, but out of the race. 5 laps to go. Jarrett looking for his first top 5 in a year and a half. Not going to happen for the lead.
Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
Jarrett's new engine blows, and his chance for top 5 is gone. Kenseth almost wrecks Harvick, and Mayfield gets next to Johnson all in half a lap. This is shaping up to be a great finish, as long as there isn't a caution. Let me explain. This is before the invention of NASCAR overtime, so the scheduled distance, which today is 200 laps, is the maximum that can be run. We cannot run more than that. If a caution comes out late in the race will end under caution, like in Formula 1 or IndyCar in present day. To help mitigate this, NASCAR will often throw a red flag for a caution late in the race, to try and leave time for the race to end under green. However, there is a limit to when they can throw the red flag, so they can't just be thrown out on the final lap to keep the race going. So once we get within 5 to go, the red flag can no longer be thrown. So once we're at that time, a caution could run the risk of ending the race. Caution. And now the race is likely decided. But, oh boy, is it not over.
Oh! He got in the oil. The car looks angry.
It has that look about it.
Yeah, the car looks really angry to me.
I'm getting that spot back then.
And I hope somebody gets a squad car ride out of here for that one. As in any other sport, there's no room for vigilante justice.
Oh, is this real? Is this happening?
The caution is out for Jeff Burton, who, like Dale Jarrett, is also running the new Ford engine. And also, like Jarrett, loses the engine with a few laps to go. Maybe Mark Martin had a reason to be concerned.
Looks like the new engine package is 5 miles.
Darrell was about to point that out when things happen. I'm just going to show you the whole thing. You just need to see everything.
Oh, he got in the oil. Guarantee you, he got in the oil. That or else, you don't reckon Harvick and he got together, do you?
At this stage, Darrell, I'm not going to reckon anything. 4 laps to go.
Matt Kenseth, he's going up the front stretch at a pretty high rate of speed right now.
He doesn't, you know, the car looks angry.
It has that look about it.
Yeah, the car looks really angry to me. Of course, maybe by the time he gets there, it'll get a little happier.
All right, let's see what happens as Kenseth comes around. We are under caution. We're waiting to hear if NASCAR intends to red flag this race or run it under yellow to conclusion. Now Kenseth is going back into the spot he occupied at the time of the caution. And we'll see how NASCAR rules on this.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
He definitely got help.
You know, this started earlier when Kenseth was jacking. He got in behind Joe right there. No, 29 came across the nose of the 17. And boy, they are not happy.
Well, Kenseth is just trying to get back into the position he occupied when the yellow came out. And that's going to be one for NASCAR to settle.
I'm getting that spot back then.
You know, they're doing Kenseth and Harvick are doing a good thing. They got 2 cars in between them. I think that's a good idea.
They had
less for those 2 cars.
That's right.
They had held the field. The pace car stopped briefly between turns 2 and 3, and a lot of speedy dry going down in that area. So they're now coming around to the caution.
Well, I believe Kenseth should be able to go back in his position. Oh, he's is this real? Is this happening?
It is.
This is not a highlight film.
No, this is live.
Man, guys, I told you that car was angry.
In which it happened. This is under green.
That's just Harvick makes the pass, slides up in front of Kenseth, took the nose off of Kenseth's cars. He jacked him up going across there, gets down into 3. He's able to get away from him here. Then the caution comes out.
Yeah, that was everything that transpired between the 2 of them under green.
And then Harvick was not happy with Kenseth because he pushed him across the short chute, so he turns him around.
Kenseth comes back around to pick up the position where he was running and
he turns him around. So what's the score, Larry?
Oh, I'm not sure on that one. We know it's at least 1-1.
It's going to be Oval Office to Oval Office.
The line keeps getting longer there.
Yeah. Because in this, as in any other sport, there's no room for vigilante justice.
No, that just blows my mind, to tell you the truth. I can't believe it, Kenseth. You know, he's such a cool character that he would let something like that get to him.
This is wild. The race likely isn't going to restart, but Matt Kenseth pits where he surrenders 11th and loses a lot of points for seemingly no reason.
Kenseth is going to stop and put on tires just in case.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that call. The only thing, no, I'm not sure about that call at all. He's going to restart in 22nd place.
2 to go. Under caution, the crowd is not pleased. Really upset, actually. They're starting to realize that this race will probably end under caution.
Might be better just let this end under caution.
Jimmy Johnson.
There's a precedent for this, as fans have shown their displeasure when a race has ended early under caution in 2 instances within the last 2 years. However, in both cases, it was when Dale Jr., by far the most popular driver of the day, lost a chance to win the race. This race is between Jimmy Johnson, who is a very good driver, but he's not the 7-time champion we know yet. He's only in his 3rd season. And Jeremy Mayfield, who's a respectable midfield driver. Neither are fan favorites. This shouldn't elicit a similar reaction to Dale Jr. It shouldn't, at least. But it does anyway.
Now at 65 miles an hour, the speed at which over 100,000 people will drive home today, Jimmy Johnson is going to complete the last lap, the one that will take him to victory lane.
I'm going to take
way down low.
All right, what Chad Knaus is telling these guys, get way down low. Don't get up on the banking in the corners and let the fuel run away from the pickup.
Jimmy Johnson's not getting down to save fuel. He gets down to avoid projectiles. But the broadcasters don't know that yet. There aren't as many things being thrown as with the junior races. But still enough to cause problems because, you know, things aren't supposed to be thrown at all. So stuff being thrown is going to cause an issue or two.
That's a cooler that has come out of the stand.
Did you see that? It just threw something down there and hit the flag.
And it hit the assistant flagman. And I hope somebody gets a squad car ride out of here for that one. Security right now is trying to identify the patron who caused that. However,
stay way down low, Jimmy. Stay way down low. They're throwing a bunch of stuff.
If you listen to the broadcast at any point during the final 2 laps, you can hear the anger from the crowd as the cars drive below highway speed. Johnson finally crosses the finish line, ending one of the most chaotic cautions in NASCAR history, and wins the slowest Pocono race ever to that point.
Jimmy Johnson wins the Pocono 500.
He celebrates by knocking the Powerade props off his car in victory lane and showers his crew in Gatorade, who sponsors him. This has been an issue for all of 2004. Powerade, who's paid a good deal of money to be on the top of the car, is very upset. And this will come to a head during the second race at Pocono, when Johnson wins again and does the exact same thing. NASCAR ends up fining him a few $1,000s. Back to this race, NASCAR is not pleased with a few other drivers as well.
Both Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick went to the Oval Office. They both declined comment. Harvick ends up the tail end of the lead lap, and he is 21st today. And there will be quite a line at the Oval Office. Robbie Gordon was called there for continuing to run through a caution when a caution came out, not slowing down to pace car speed. And there was so much that happened today. Two things we can't tolerate: drivers dumping each other under caution, losing their temper, and fans losing their temper. If NASCAR could have restarted the race, they would have. That kind of action, and by the way, that spectator was removed. That just can't be tolerated.
Mike is right here that NASCAR can do nothing under the current rule package, which is why they changed the rules after this. NASCAR implemented the overtime rule, at the time called the green-white checkered rule, which allows races to extend beyond the original distance in order to get a green flag finish. And this race helped make that happen, for better or for worse. Now for the main question: was this a good race? There were plenty of lead changes which would point to yes. Many of these were due to green flag pit stops and not actual battles. There were plenty of solid battles further back, which the broadcast did a good job keeping an eye on, which made the race more entertaining than maybe if it was run today. We can't ignore all the cautions though. Over a quarter of this race was driven under caution, including the finish. Can a race be considered good if it doesn't even finish under green? Many, including those who were there, would say no. But we can also not ignore all the drama either. This race approached reality TV levels of drama, which some may not have liked, while others may have loved it. I am one of those others. This was the first NASCAR race I watched from start to finish, and 4-year-old me was enthralled. The racing, the drama, the chaos, I loved it all. I watched this race over and over on the VHS tape my dad recorded it on. This race was not the stereotypical good race. There's no heroic last lap pass or ferocious battle for the lead. No photo finish as they wreck behind them. But if we only focus on the leaders, most races probably won't be that entertaining. Focusing on the whole field gives us more stories to tell, like those of Scott Wimmer, Michael Waltrip, Sterling Marlin, and even Kirk Shelmerding. There were stories throughout this race. Not all of them pretty, but they were for sure entertaining. This race may not be a classic, but I love it. It made me fall in love with the sport, so to me, it is a pretty good race. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad I was able to show off a big part of my childhood. I hope you enjoyed it. There's only one thing left for me to do. Mike, play us out.
Well, congratulations to Jimmy Johnson. I think the best thing we can say about this day is we're off to Michigan.
Ooh, wonder
Chris?
what that'll hold.
Michael Waltrip was very critical of you in that accident. We did hear the radio transmission between you and your crew talking about losing your brakes.
No way in the world I'm trying to take anybody or hurt anybody or anything like that. And the last thing I want to do is take my own car out, but that happened.
Starts out a little free in turn 1. But the problem that he has now, under this caution telling Chad, he says, I feel like I hit something on the racetrack, meaning a small animal. There is some debris, he says, on his windshield. Chad said, do you want to come in? Do we need to pull a tear-off off? He says, no, the only thing I need right now, counseling.
Counseling can be a good thing. We all need that.
Oh, the things that happen in the Pocono zone. 77 laps to go.